Hello and welcome to another edition of our low-code webinar. I see people are still joining, but I will start with the overall presentation. And by the time everybody joins, we get to the interesting stuff. So today it will be a special edition. We have a special guest, Firas. He's new to Plant an App, but he just delivered an MVP. And he has broad experience working with low-code platforms in the past. So I'm going to interview him, and I'm sure we all learn a lot from his journey so far. We'll also cover some updates coming to current releases and future releases. And hopefully we'll also get time to continue the task management app, add a new feature to it that we've been building for the past 2 webinars. And why not other topics as they arise. Just to give you a brief introduction for whoever is new to this webinar. This is a weekly webinar. We do it every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's a webinar about the community and about the team to come together and discuss something that's cool, that's interesting, have a guest like we have today, tell us about their journey, their projects, or building something from scratch, getting our hands dirty. These webinars are published on the YouTube channel. So let me also grab this link and post it in the chat window. Yeah, so this is the link to our to the playlist on our YouTube channel. It contains all past editions, and we already had 4 episodes so far. So this is the 5th one. And make sure to also follow our YouTube channel. We constantly publish new cool videos there on how to achieve more with low code and with Plant an App. So that being said, I would like to use our time to the best of our abilities today. We have a lot to talk about. So I will jump right to the interview, and after that we can follow with other topics. So we have Firas on the call. Just give me a moment to make him a panelist. Hello, Firas, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Hi, Bogdan. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Firas. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview. I think it will be a huge value for everyone. I first met Firas, I think it was a couple of months ago. He found us and I will leave him to tell the story of how he found us actually. And in the meantime, we developed a very good relationship with, which led to building an MVP that was just completed yesterday. So everything is still very hot in this context, in this interview. So Firas, welcome to our webinar. Can you briefly introduce yourself for our community?
Hi, Bogdan. Yes, thank you very much for having me. I currently working in Dubai for a healthcare organization. I'm heading the digital transformation projects over there, and I've been doing so for the last 2 years almost. I graduated with a master's degree from the US 3-4 years ago, and then after that I joined the real estate fund basically, and I was there as an investment analyst basically for new investments and existing investments and projects, doing all types of reports and financial models and all of these things. So my job as an analyst was quite repetitive, I would say, at this stage, because I would have to do run models on new investments that would come across, or do weekly and monthly reports on existing real estate that would be. And after a few months, basically, of doing that job, I was starting to get bored of doing the same thing over and over again, because I saw a lot of repetitive tasks that could, that were taking a lot of time for me to do, and I started exploring ways, basically, to make my job more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And first, how I started was basically, I was instead of just using Excel, I was using Excel VBA and macros on Excel. It's a programming language for Excel to put your skills on steroid, let's say. So once I explored that and I learned to do that, I saw how much better, how much more efficient I became doing what I was doing before, and like things that would take like 2-3 hours of work to do, I would then be able to achieve them in, like, say, 10 minutes and something like this. So that automated a lot of my tasks. And then after doing that for a little time, I started seeing like limitations on using Excel a lot. And that's when I started looking for other ways, basically, solutions to even take like my skills and my job to another level. And that's when I kind of started to get into low-code software, and doing custom-made solutions, basically, for whatever your business is. I would say right now, we're in a time where the way business is being done today, you just need to use systems. If you're serious about your business, you need to use systems, basically, for everything. You can't just rely on Excel and rely on old communication methods and doing all that, because that isn't very efficient anymore. And you have to use more sophisticated or more customized systems based on your business process and based on the way you do your business, because not, even in the same industry, not two businesses do their work the same way. So it's very important to have systems that are customized on the way your business process are being made. And it's very important to have this being done in a timely manner. Like you could do, you could invest in very expensive software, which many SMEs may not afford. Or you could, work with custom development agencies, but again, that would take a lot of time, and also would be quite costly. And also another drawback would be the fact that requirements change all the time in this era. Basically, what was required from you to do a month ago, would completely change in a matter of weeks, and so you have to adapt to the change in requirements very fast in order to stay competitive, and in order to remain at the top, and to basically achieve the best, let's say, customer relationship, to achieve the best business relationship, whichever domain or industry you're in. There are always goals that you need to achieve, and objectives, and these are much easier achieved once you understand that that people work in systems, basically, with systems.
Yeah. So
yes.
You said something very interesting about Excel, and do you see that Excel as a milestone, as an intermediate step going towards low code, or do you see that someone could go directly from being like, let's say, a financial analyst to
Yes.
low code development? And do you see Excel also as a low code tool, or do you see like something completely different?
So because I studied finance and because I was in the finance domain, I think a lot of the finance people work with Excel.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 100%, I would say 99.9% work with Excel. And, they like it. A lot of people like it. They got used to it, and they don't think of it as a thing that limits their capabilities anymore,
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I started seeing limitations with Excel after implementing VBA and doing macros and doing all that, very nice automation stuff. Because there's only so much a spreadsheet tool could do. After all, Excel is a spreadsheet software. It's not made to handle like a lot of amount of data in
Mm-hmm.
it, and it starts getting very clunky when you connect it with other sheets and when you connect it with other files, and when you start using it like as a tool, like as a database.
Mm-hmm.
As a database tool, it's a spreadsheet software. It's made to, it's very nice to use for many purposes, but once there is like you will reach a limitation to it if you're trying to build your entire system around it, like let's say financial reporting or anything around that. I figured those out, and I thought Excel could be used as a low code tool. I tried to explore if there are any ways of making it much easier than writing VBA code and stuff like that. At the time, I didn't find so many solutions. I don't know about now if more tools have been created. But I think it could be a step where people could advance. Like let's say you don't use anything and then you start using Excel, and then you start exploring VBAs on Excel, and then you do a step after that, and you start using like a custom ERP solution or something like that in order to even do the stuff which you are limited with using a spreadsheet software, any kind of software. Yeah.
Got it. So I was wondering if you can share with us what other solutions, low-code solutions, have you tried in the past, and if you can share like what should people take into account when picking one of the low-code solutions out there to adopt.
Yes. Yes. So when I was exploring tools that I wanted to use to build custom solutions and that were low code, because I don't come from a very technical background, I saw Zoho, Zoho Creator. I discovered it, and I was exploring many other tools at the time, and I saw this being quite fit to what my requirements were. I liked it. I liked the fact that it's quite user friendly and you can get up and running with it quite fast. Looking at it now, after working with it for 2 years, let's say, I think it also has some limitations, like some features which I would love to have right now. For example, it's not easily integratable with other systems. So if you're looking to build like a portal for your business where people could apply for, let's say, leaves, which would be integrated with let's say a system for HR which you're using, and at the same time it will be used for people doing their day-to-day activities that they have to do, for salespeople, for things like this. It's not easily integratable, I would say. And what was the other part of the question which you were mentioning?
how would you recommend people to evaluate this kind of platforms? What they should look at?
Yes. I think it's very important to make sure that whatever your requirements are in terms of the system you're trying to build, whatever your requirements are for that system, that you would be able to make them using the low-code solution that you choose. And it's very important to make sure that whatever requirements you may have in the future as well, you'd be able to meet using this tool. It wouldn't limit you. Otherwise, you would have to create the same maybe thing twice, like once using the first time using the first tool which you use, and then discovering that you got into a roadblock where you can't scale your system anymore because of the limitation which your provider has, or that the pricing model isn't convenient for you anymore, or it's very important to evaluate all these things from the start, because they will affect your product basically.
Mm-hmm.
And how fast maybe you could like also the timeline, like if you need it very, very fast, or if you have more time, maybe some security features in terms of like roles and managers and approvals and processes. Workflows again is a very important part where many low-code tools lack, is they give you only like one part of what you need. They don't sometimes they don't give you the entire solution, and so you then have to look for other low-code solutions that do other the other things, and you'd have to connect it, and you end up using so many different systems, which could affect maybe your speed. It could affect some stuff, like it could have some implications. Yeah,
got it. So then maybe now it's time to ask you, how did you find Plantain app? How did you run across it? And then how do you feel? Why did you decide to try it? I mean, first of all.
Yeah. So I facing the constant kind of request to deliver on custom requirements, on new things, on new products, on new features all the time. I wanted something that another solution that would fit my requirements, and that's when I started looking for other solutions. And to be honest, I didn't find Plantain app from like immediately, like very fast, because that time was like around February or March, I think. And I somehow got to Plantain app through browsing so many different websites and communities of no code, low code. I don't know. Somehow came across it from one of those websites that share with you different tools of low code. And I thought it was interesting. I saw it's from Romania as well, and I thought I could give it a try and see what's it's capable of. And shortly after that, I decided I would want to experiment it and test it out.
Cool. And maybe now is the time to show a bit what you've built.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to explore like what were your expectations before, and then now that the MVP is ready, how do you feel afterwards? Was it more than you expected? Was it less? Was it different?
Okay, sure. So I'm going to share my screen with you a little bit right now.
Sounds good.
Okay. And so as I told you before, I'm working for a chain of hospitals and clinics right now. And one of the things which we're facing and for marketing and for all of these things is we're receiving many leads from our website, and people from our support team, that customer relationship team, that patient relationship team that are supposed to contact them weren't able to do so in a timely manner because we were using many Excel sheets and many people were using them, and things were getting lost at times. So we decided we needed a solution to handle this issue much better and reach our patients much faster. Here, for example, appointments. These are a list of feed of people basically that have submitted their request for an appointment on our website, they would expect someone to call them to confirm with them the availability of the doctors and the locations and all of that. And so people can come in here, and every person would see only the person assigned to their, let's say, location or to the doctor. So people see only the information that that is of interest to them. They don't see, like, let's say 10,000 records here. They only see those ones that they're supposed to work on. And then they could see all of their information here, basically. And they could send them confirmations. They could reschedule their appointments. We even have a custom scheduling feature. And we even have this integrated with our EMR system that we use. So some doctors prefer not to show their availabilities to everyone, while others prefer to, show when their available slots are. And we also could send patients like custom intake forms that they would have to fill in before their appointment. So we set them up here in this area, and intake forms like this. This is really an initial, like, we're not done developing this, but because it's only been a few days, but we could create a custom intake form, and then we could easily send it by email and SMS to a patient from this screen here. Like, we could send an intake form, and then we choose which one. Let's say we want him to tell us what his medical history was before coming in, so that he would save time from sitting in the clinic. And then, yes, we have to have a right phone number first. But using this, we could also request our patients to pay online. Mm-hmm. For example, we have integrated with Stripe, so we could send him a payment request here, and I've just received as an SMS. So request the payment. We select that. We put in the amount, money, description, everything, and then he receives a notification to pay. And then once he's done that, then his appointment is confirmed. Otherwise, we have workflows here that do something like, if the patient doesn't pay, like in 20 minutes, then you cancel his appointment, for example, stuff like that. And we also have a feature like so this like online consultations. We're using another third-party software for doing online consultations with our patients, and we could send them a link for that also through here. And the nice thing about all of this is the workflows and the automation and the APIs. These provide a lot of flexibility for our processes, in terms, like, if they change in the future, and if we need different, to apply different methods and different ways, then we could easily custom change these workflows and then have APIs so that we can integrate with other solutions as well. So I like it because it gives you a lot of features. In short, that's pretty much it.
Yep. So how long did it take you to build, and how do you feel about it?
5 days so far, and I've pretty much achieved with it what I wanted. So it kind of was, and I think I had high expectations at the beginning, but with a very strong support implementation team from your side, we were able to achieve this in a timely manner. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And how do you feel compared to other low-code solution? Maybe Zoho created, that's, if I understand correctly, that's the one that you used more than any.
Yes. I told you what I like about this is the flexibility, the fact that workflows are much better set here. So you could have if solution, like if this, then that, and then split, and then um, um, use all the methods that you've already built, like the entities or the APIs or all of that. So it's very flexible. If you're a little bit technical as well, you could put in custom code and wherever you're stuck, and it would give you what you've wanted as well. The fact that you could easily integrate it with any other solution as well, by setting up the connection and then putting in SQL queries or APIs or whatever the method is. I think it gives you a lot of flexibility on that. And it's fast. It does the job. It's nice. It gets you get more familiar to it as you use it more, and it gets the job done. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm glad. So then maybe a nice point which usually comes up and it comes up in the low-code conversations, like how does the process go? Do you start with the specifications detailed and then you start a low-code, or you just start with the idea and maybe some rough specification and adjust as you go?
So the nice thing about this is that you can start either ways, I think. If you know exactly what you want to build and you have the specifications there, then you could follow whatever specifications you wrote down and build on it. If you don't, and you're just gonna build it as it comes up, then you can also do it because it's very fast and you could change, you could remove things and add new things.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows you to do it either ways. For me, I had the specifications. Basically, they weren't very clear, but I knew what I wanted to build and what the processes would be and all of that. Mm-hmm. But also, given all this, during the development, we've also changed on those as well, added new things that I didn't think of in the past, which have made it much better, even much more flexible and all of that. So you can do it either ways, basically.
Okay, yeah. So basically what you're saying that in those five days of development, you changed your specification, and low-code was a great tool to enable you to be able to do that. Right?
Yes. It did change a little bit, and it didn't affect the delivery. It didn't affect anything because changes happened very, very, very fast. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You also mentioned in our personal discussions that you also did custom development in the past.
Yes.
When would you choose to still do custom development compared to using low-code tools?
I think given that I've experienced both ways right now, I would say that once you have your solution, first go ahead with the low-code solution. Do it because you're gonna have a lot of changes come up. Let's say things that you didn't expect or things that came up meanwhile, stuff like that. So you're going to require constant change to your methods, to your workflows, to your entities, to everything. And then once you build the product and you know that it's being used by the users by your target audience, basically, and it's stable, and let's say you have performance issues, or let's say you have scaling issues, or whatever that reason is, if you want to change, then that would be the time that would be okay to change, because by then you would have the product in a stable in a stable, period where it works and all the functionality is there. You know exactly what you have to do. You know, changes won't appear very frequent, so that wouldn't affect a lot. And then you could, if you want, do a custom development then.
Cool. And I mean, before going to the next questions, we also have a question from the audience. So I forgot to mention, feel free to ask questions. We'll take them and we'll challenge Firas with them. So one question from Jim is, how do you plan to surface those forms that you showed, the intake forms? Will the user come to the Plant and App instance where they see the forms, or is there another way that you are going to send them?
So I have two users basically, and very good question. I have two types of users. I mean, at least two types of users. First are the internal users within the company which I work for. And second, the patients basically that are the external users. Mm-hmm. So for the external users, they won't be seeing the Plant and App interface. They will only be handling like submitting requests from the website using, the normal forms. And the integration would be using with Plant and App on the website level, mm-hmm. Or the application, like the user application, which we have. Mm-hmm. And the second type of user, yes, they will be working from the Plant and App interface, mm-hmm. Because but they would have, again, certain roles. Like each type of user would have certain roles with certain access levels and stuff like that. So they would be concerned only with the things that they have to work on.
Got it. So basically you embed those public forms on the website,
yes,
whereas
yes.
The rest of the features for the staff are accessible
yes.
to Plant and App.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Yeah, so Jim, I hope this answers the question. So yeah, we talked a lot about what you built. I'm also interested to hear your opinion about the future. Where do you see low-code heading? What do you feel like it's missing today from low-code that would be a huge value for this future that you envision?
I think a lot of the enterprise apps are going to be built in the future using some low-code solution. Whatever that is, which meets the requirements and demands of the enterprise. Different, industries have different maybe requirements or specifications. Like you need to be stronger in security, or you need to be stronger in this versus that. And so it's an emerging market, and it will. I think be much more used by enterprises as well as SMEs, which could very easily have their solution built using some type of low-code solution. We're seeing right now solutions that are very easy for non-technical people to use and to build forms, whatever that is, and of course others that are more sophisticated and that require more technical knowledge. So the market is being still growing and still not in the initial phases anymore, but it's still growing at a fast pace, and not many people know, like even developers, not many of them know that they could be using this instead of that for achieving their jobs much faster, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we, especially me, I ran across this discussion with developers where they resist low code, right? They don't take it seriously.
Yes.
I wonder if you got this kind of experience, and how do you see this kind of conversation evolving in the next few years?
I would understand that concern because a lot of jobs are being lost right now because you got like RPA software, which runs 24/7, and you don't need 10 people anymore. Now you just need 2 people doing the same thing, you know, but they're working smarter and more efficient. So same applies to developers, maybe. Low code kind of means that, you know, now you don't need to go to a custom development agency anymore. So that why maybe developers would resist it, because they would tell you like, no, it's not the same, and yes, you'll always be limited, and you know, I could always make something better, faster, whatever, you know, like this. So I understand their concern, because it's the concern of many people that their jobs would be affected because of technology, basically. And this is, you know, this is where we're heading right now. RPA and automation and all of this cutting so many jobs and labor-intensive industries.
Got it. I think we got a lot of value out of this interview. We are near finishing it. So I'm wondering if there's anyone that has additional questions for Firas, we'd be happy to take them. Also, you can post them as we go until the end of the webinar. We'll cover a few more topics, and then we can reconnect with Firas. So any closing words that you feel that are a strong statement of what you've been doing so far with low-code, or what you plan to do with low-code?
Well, I would just recommend the people watching that, you know, try to, if you're new to this, try to give it a try. And if you're already using it and you've been using it for a long time, then I would say, you know, try to help the community as well, like suggest whatever could be done to better enhance the product and move this forward with it.
Thanks a lot, Firas, for taking the time for this interview. It was great having you here.
Thank you again, Bogdan.
Okay, so now let's move on. I will share my screen again. Let's move on. We had other things to cover, and this week I thought that it's time to do another cool experiment. So we have all these support tickets coming every week. Some are very, very interesting from a broader perspective, like from a how do you tackle this perspective as any user, as a matter of fact. So this week I would also like to start this initiative where we have Del Warner, that's in the first line doing support, to tell us about the experience, the interesting challenges that were raised by our customers, and how they were addressed, what were the solutions for them. So give me a second to promote Dale to be a panelist. Yeah, so Dale, you can take over. Thanks for showing us. What do you have for us this week?
Great. So it's give me just a second, and I'm going to share a screen. I picked something pretty straightforward to show. Whoop, there. Let's see. Try sharing again. Okay. And so I didn't for this first episode didn't want to dive in too deeply, but I thought that I would. I picked a ticket that came across my desk during the week from a client who was interested in initializing search in a particular way, and so in that case. And I've just kind of demonstrated it here very simply. In that case, he had a large number of records in an action grid and didn't want to wait for it to open and have to search through content that the user really didn't care about. And they wanted to focus his search on something particular. So for example, if really he wanted to focus in on one particular record and like typing host here at the search bar, this is where he would have hoped it would have opened. This was really, again, quite a simple solution. If we take a look at the settings, I've had the settings open here in the background, and you look at general settings, there's a feature that is sync with URL. And by turning this on, and I'm going to save, when we return back to the screen, notice up here at the top, the URL was quite simple, but when we refresh, the page and the size of the grid is put into the URL. And when we type, the URL is automatically adjusted to include the search term. So I typed host, and it says that search 380 equal host. So that forced, that demonstrated how the URL gets built. And then we can just use that very quickly if we want to focus on something. So for example, if I change this to search 380 equal test, the grid is going to initialize to the, any items that satisfy the search test. I'll just say quickly, search is a constant that you're going to see in the when you enable this feature of synchronizing with URL, but the 380 is the module ID. So that's going to vary every time. And so this process that I just did where we activated and actually worked up the URL and let it tell us what the search term was, it says search 380. So now we can just copy this and use it in a either an HTML, or if you were trying to link to it from some other grid or form, you could use that. So for example, now if we, I have a show only super user as a link, and when we click it, it just comes in with search 380 equals super. So it focused in on just the item that he wanted the users to focus on. It's a simple technique, but that might save somebody some time if they were trying to do the same thing. The other things that I thought I might bring up, it's just the kind of things that we see all the time on the help desk, or the things that we recommend all the time, a couple of best practices. So backing up before upgrading, if you have a backup of your file system and your database before you apply an upgrade, it gives you a chance to revert if something goes wrong during the process. I've been using, in addition to working for Plankton App, I've been using the modules for about 5 years, and I would commend the developers on the number of times that that applying upgrades work right. I've worked with other products, and you apply an installation or an upgrade, and it can cause problems for your system. You don't want to have your production system down. So doing a file system and a database backup right before you apply an upgrade, whether it's to the underlying DNN or to the DNN sharps or Plankton App modules, having that upgrade on hand gives a place to go back to rather than it being a panic call. Right? Another thing that we ran into over the course of a week is some users that managed to either get themselves locked out of a particular module just by setting up some JavaScript or something that should have worked, but the syntax wasn't quite right. And while there are always ways out of those circumstances, using the export content, if you use the settings and export content of any grid or form, any of the DNN sharp modules, you can back up. And what I often do is just put a date and a time of the module before I start using it and hit export. That goes out onto the file system, and what that allows you then is if if you do something and you don't like the result, whether you've whether you're playing with it and trying for a new result and you don't like it, it gives you an easy way to revert back. But if you get yourself locked out of something or cause a more serious error, you can just revert back. So I would just recommend being able to use export content to
one thing that I want to mention here, Dale, if you allow me.
please.
This is also done automatically if you configure the GitHub integration as a source control for Plant an App. So if you configure that in general settings, then every time you do that kind of changes, they automatically get exported and committed to a GitHub. So this can also be automated. It doesn't have to be manual, but doing it manually, it's also an option, especially when you do changes maybe more rarely.
Great point, and that's certainly an area where I'm still coming up to speed. So thanks for bringing me in on that one. And then the last one I want to mention, just I spent some time last week and working with my tokens or variables and using the caching features. And I just want to point out that if you're not familiar with them, you should definitely take a look at the caching features. Things that don't change very often, setting the highest caching values possible can have a big performance increase. And so the larger that your app grows, the larger that the more users that you have, the more that cache will save you in performance. And we have a video in the works. I think we'll be publishing that, and we'll just demonstrate that. But the short version is look at and use cache.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Dale, for sharing these experiences.
Absolutely.
Let me share back my screen. So I think we have 12 minutes left. I want to give a brief overview of some community updates, and then I will invite Reza to talk a bit about what's coming next. And then I don't think we'll have more time to continue building our task management apps with new features. But then I want to show you like a new direction that we're taking with UI UX, just show it to you briefly and maybe get your feedback on it. So what's happening? We announced it last week. We are starting a new community portal. It will first be like a Stack Overflow questions and answers kind of solution. But in time, we plan to keep expanding it with feature requests, watching the backlog, seeing releases. So more like a community engagement portal. We're taking a new direction with the UI UX, especially on the front end part. And this is something that I would like to show to you at the end of this webinar, if there is time. If not, we can cover it next week, because this is something that will get delivered probably within maybe a few months. It's not something for the next release. We managed to do the 1.6 release last week. I'm sure that all of you got the newsletter, and hopefully you already tried that and are happy with it. And now I want to invite Reza, give me a second, to tell us a bit about what's coming in the current release, in the next release, to set the right expectations.
Hey, Bogdan. Hey, everyone. You still sharing your screen there? Yeah, I see it. So 1.6 went out and I've had good feedback on that. I did want to just drop a note on that. That has really been tested heavily and optimized from a DNN standpoint against 9.6.1. Been getting some customers reaching out and people already jumping ahead to 9.6.2. That's great. Just know you're a little bit bleeding edge there, and we have just started some regression testing against 9.6.2. So far, it's pretty good. There's not a huge difference between the versions, but just know that's not our official supported version yet. If you're doing it and you run into things, would love to hear about them. We want to make sure we stay current, and in this day of security and other concerns and just so many changes to libraries and versions of components and things, want to make sure we can keep to current, and that always makes upgrade paths and things easier to not let big gaps go on. But just know that 9.6.2 is, your results may vary, and you're kind of breaching that veil yourself there at the moment. But I think over the next release or two, we should be good, and we can put our stamp on 9.6.2 as well. Moving to 1.7. So we did a lot of work, and 1.6 was very, very big release for us. Almost a month of work went into that one. So wanted to follow up, and really we're focused this year on upping our cadence and being very regular and predictable with releases. And so in the spirit of that, wanted to make sure we got something out again soon. Main focus on 1.7 is on just stability and kind of giving back to the community, and making sure we're addressing any issues or bugs and things like that that have been out there in the support center for a while. So a lot of good fixes and enhancements coming in 1.7. We'll be code complete at the end of the week, and kind of trying something since we have this webinar every week, timing our actual rollouts and push outs on Wednesdays with the webinar. But things looking really good, and will be available next week. Into 1.8 and beyond, and I don't want to give spoilers on what Bogdan's going to show, but really kind of taking things up to the next level, focusing in on the data model and the entity builder, but separating a little bit the concept of you defining your data and what that ends up meaning in the application in the system, the page creation, the way that forms and modules and grids and listings are linked up, and really starting to give a lot of control now over to that, not just being kind of out of the box and you having to go behind the scenes in the forms and rearrange everything manually, but being able to define that in the application builder. And so controlling where the properties go, specifically starting with pages and menu management, so we can isolate if you have like an existing DNN instance and you're upgrading to Plant and App, not having Plant and App taking over your menu. And if you're wanting to kind of keep what you have there with regards to what you've built from the DNN and DNN Sharp module side, but start leveraging workflows and maybe entities going forward, especially for those types of situations where it's not very customer facing, but you have some data that's used you know, in the back end just to power drop downs and some internal things. And a lot of times those don't get a lot of the CRUD love and have a good UI and validation and things around them. So you can use Plant and App Builder for that. And then big focus, this one we're really excited about, already seen a lot of good feedback. In the last release or two, you have the ability to push a button when you upgrade App Builder and get all of the right dependencies automatically installed, downloaded and installed for you that are optimized to and tested to work with that version of App Builder. So we're taking that up another level and going for full one-click upgrade. So when there's a new version of App Builder, Plant an App Out, you'll see that notification and you can push one button. You'll get the entire App Builder and all the dependencies installed automatically. So again, kind of going back to that, in today's world, it's important to keep current for a lot of reasons. And you know, no more being afraid to upgrade, wanting to make that just, even if it's, you know, the stuff's probably going to work, but boy, that's a lot of time and effort to download and install all these modules and things like that. No more, one button and you're good. Mm-hmm. Still wanting to make sure you're following Dale's advice and always backing up and having yourself a way out just in case. Mm-hmm. And so lots on the horizon there. And as well, like I mentioned, the 9.6.2 and some new features around how the UI and UX of some of the modules are rendered. And so,
yeah. So Reza, where is our current minimum version with regards to DNN compatibility right now? This is a question from Jim on the chat, on the Q&A.
Yeah, so I think 9.2.1 probably is about as far back as you should go, just from your own standpoint, not telling you how to run your shop, but there's some critical security issues and things like that that you're just not going to want to be sitting on from a DNN standpoint. And, you know, DNN 9.5 really did introduce some big changes around dependency injection and some other things. And we've done a lot of work to not just support that, but leverage it and reap the benefits of the new features of DNN. And so I think really 9.3 is where we're going to start drawing the line soon. Mm-hmm. And your results may greatly vary, or you might find yourself stuck back some versions that are missing good features or other fixes and things.
Okay, thanks a lot, Reza.
And just one note there as well. 9.4 is the of DNN is the release that shall go unnamed, and we will never support that. That had some issues, and we just skipped it. And so 9.5 is much better than 9.4 from a DNN perspective, anyhow.
Okay. Thanks for pointing that out as well. Okay, so we are near the end. I will just take, I don't need much time, just a few minutes to show you the new direction that we are heading. So maybe Reza, can you, oh, it's my share, sorry. Okay, so I'm sharing on a different machine. So just to give you like a brief introduction to what we are trying to do here, we have various technology used on the front end that we collected, let's say, during time. And now we are looking to consolidate more into a modern technology. Of course, there is always the bootstrap way, but we are looking more to adopt an Angular material kind of way of doing things. So here what I have is the old, the current, let's not call it old yet, the current UI that we have for the data grid. And then here, as I scroll at the top, you can see the new data grid that comes from Angular material, right? So it's more modern, you know, with ripples, and so it follows the material guideline. So this is something that I'm hoping we'll be able to roll out in a month or two. And then, of course, the bigger vision is that this grid, as we call it today, becomes actually a listing module, because there's multiple ways to display data, right? So here is like in a table view, but then what we are introducing, it's a calendar view, right? So you can see the same data, but in a different format that makes more sense in some situation, right? And other views would be like a Kanban view, you know, which is more popular. So you can have this kind of views for data. And then of course, the interactions also vary a bit. Like here, I don't see all the data from the start, but if I click an event, I would get a pop-up. And then in this pop-up, I have the buttons that execute the workflows, right? And again, I mean, we are looking to have something clean, modern. You see like copy to clipboard buttons all over the place. So to be like a smooth, modern experience. So this is the direction that we decided to take, going with Angular material as a coherent experience across the screens. So I'm sure that we'll discuss this over and over again in our next webinars as we present it as new features or draw new challenges that arise from here. Okay, so if there are no questions, I want to thank you very much all for attending this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, for me personally, and what I tell all people is that this webinar is supposed to serve one objective. Did I learn anything new? Do I know more than I did 1 hour ago? Something useful, something interesting. That's what we are aiming with this webinar. And same for our team. So I'm sure that our team, and myself included, we learn a lot from this webinar as well. So thank you so much for attending again, and we'll be seeing you next week, I hope, at the 6th edition of this webinar. Have a wonderful day or evening. Bye.